Hello, everybody. Welcome to Push to Shout. This week it's episode 66, and we have stuff going on, finally, or at least stuff
Well,
that I care
sorta.
about, which, let's be honest, is all that matters.
There's
But
like one
Skippy,
thing. Well, two things maybe. All right,
what have you been doing?
we'll get to it. We'll get to that stuff. Um, I don't have a lot to talk about. I actually have almost nothing to talk about. I spent most of my weekend playing The Witcher 3, and I've spent most of my week watching wrestling. And there's really not anything to say about either of those. So,
Well, that's
your
boring.
turn.
I'm sure you'll find something to say about wrestling eventually. You usually
Yeah, I'll
percolate
sneak
a
it in
bit,
there.
and then,
I
yeah.
let it. I let people anticipate it the whole podcast, and then 3/4 of
There
the
you
way
go.
through
Something
it,
to look
I hit them
forward
with it.
to, ladies and gentlemen. We
Yeah.
always have the listener in mind here. Well,
Yeah.
I was actually doing quite a few video game related things. I finished Earthbound.
Oh.
Uh, wow. It was better than I thought it would be, and I was already in love with it. Just it blew me away, seriously.
All right.
I'm okay with limited spoilers because it's a very
Yeah.
old game. I'll basically keep this limited to stuff you've probably already heard, plot-wise. It's pretty common knowledge that the game ends with a pretty disturbing final boss. That things take a dark turn, and I had that in mind. I knew that and had seen the picture of it, but the actual execution of it was still, um, I was caught off guard by it. It was genuinely disturbing, and disturbing in a way that video games really don't do well, which is subtle. It's very subtle, and it creeps up on you, which is one of the best things Earthbound has going for it, is that it's not like, okay, here's this happy, humorous game, and then it takes a dark turn. It's it's very easy to, I don't know, not see it coming. It just slowly creeps in, and then by the end, you're like, when did this get here? And the final boss itself is, I was shocked by the execution of it. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't actually seen it, but even if you're not going to play the game, you should at least see that because it's
What would you
very
say the overall tone of Earthbound is? Like, is it a lighthearted game, or does it?
Earthbound is. I really want to make a video or something about this because I have a lot to say about it, but I think at its core, it's a game about home, leaving home, and being distant from it, and the terror that comes with that, and then coming back and remembering where you came from and putting it all back in perspective.
Okay.
The world that you go out into when you leave home in Earthbound is wacky and zany and interesting and colorful and humorous, and it's also home to some genuine horror. And at the end, I don't want to just spoil what happens at the end, but thematically, it all comes back to home, and it's just really impressive, very very well written, um, especially the ending. That's really all I want to say. But even if you think you know how that game ends, unless you've actually seen it, maybe this isn't your experience. Maybe you haven't heard as much about it as I did before I
I mean,
started
I
playing.
know very little about
Okay,
Earthbound.
okay. But I knew that there was a crazy, disturbing final boss. That's about all I knew, and I was anticipating that, and I was still genuinely surprised by the way it was done. It's not heavy-handed. It's almost more disturbing the way they kind of like casually introduce this like true cosmic horror. Like you meet the substance of evil itself, and yeah, man, it's amazing. It's an amazing game. I finished
All
it.
right.
It was great, and I started Mother 3. Mother
All right.
3 is the unreleased in the United States as of now. They're apparently planning to release it this year, but that's not confirmed yet. But as of now, it has no official localization using the fan translation thing. And already I'm surprised by how much more polished it is. It was a Game Boy Advance game, and this is after Earthbound was very successful in Japan. So, yeah, I mean, Earthbound is a rough game in a lot of ways. Uh, you can tell that most of the budget went to filling it with content and the music. The sprites themselves are pretty lifeless. Very little moves around in Earthbound. Mother 3 is the complete opposite. It feels like a extremely well polished game with all of the great stuff from Earthbound. So I'm really liking that. And
I
the story.
remember
No, go ahead.
I remember the leap to Game Boy Advance being like a huge deal
It
to
was.
people. Even comparing it to consoles that you plug into your TV, there was something about like it was like they put an effort into making the first games for that system, kind of mind blowing, especially for the fact that they're handheld. And it was just I was thinking about that earlier today. Actually, there was a Tony Hawk port for the Game Boy Advance, and it was just one
I
of the Tony
played
Hawk
that.
games,
Yeah.
and it was like an isometric kind of thing, and there was like the level builder and everything. Like it was just the amount of shit coming out for that game that you never even imagined you would be playing on a handheld console was just it was mind blowing to me. I was amazed by that shit.
Yeah, that I remember playing the shit out of that game on my Game Boy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Anyway,
but
go on.
Mother 3 came out when the DS was already out.
Oh, really? I didn't
Yeah,
know
and
that.
Earthbound was the same way. Like the Nintendo 64 was just coming out when they released it, so it's like
Yeah.
an end of console cycle
Interesting.
level of polish. Like it is beautifully animated. Just the sprites are some of the best sprite art I've ever seen. Um, not like the how realistic or something it looks, but just the detail put into it. You play as many different characters just in the couple chapters I've played. You kind of cycle through. It's kind of interesting, very unlike the other games in the series. And one character walks with a limp, and they actually have his sprite represent that very accurately. And every sprite has a forward facing, a back facing, left and right, and then diagonal too, all with unique sprite animations. So they've gone and made this guy limp accurately for all the different directions you could move, which is it sounds like it's not that big a deal, but for Earthbound, they were trying to figure out, oh, we can't put a P on this guy's shirt because when he walks the other way, we're just going to flip him around and it'll read as a backwards P. So we got to
Yeah.
put an M on his shirt instead, so it looks fine. That is not a problem for Mother 3. Mother 3, you can tell, got love, like technical polish love. It's great. It's a great game.
Interesting.
I'm excited, and I don't want to talk too much more about it.
Uh,
I picked
I
up another
forgot to
game, though.
mention.
No, go ahead.
Hold on, before you get to that, because you're mentioning those things, I forgot to mention this because I only really played maybe an hour of it, but I started Lisa finally.
Ooh. What'd you think of that beginning?
It was
Yeah.
interesting. It's cool. It's the part that has struck me like the hardest was you get to like there's like a group of kids with a teacher or something like
Yes.
that, and they catch on fire.
Well, they don't just catch on fire.
Well, there's a little fire, and the teacher asks you to put it out with a bucket of water, and he says, use that bucket of water to put out the fire. And it's like, this is like still the beginning of the game, so it's still like tutorializing and stuff. And you pick up the nearest bucket and throw it on the fire, and he goes, oh my god, you idiot! That was gasoline, and all the kids light on fire. And then you have to go get the bucket of water, which is like up 3 flights of ladders. And by the time you get back down, they're all just ashes.
Yeah.
That's it's some dark humor.
Definitely.
I also liked there was one part where you're just like moving right to get to the next area, and when you get to the next screen, like it's a screen by screen 2D game, and you get to the next screen and there's like no space at all, and then you fall off a cliff. And so if you're just holding down right, you just fall off the cliff. It was like right after your first save point too.
There was like some Polygon or Kotaku, one of those places, Rock Paper Shotgun maybe article.
One of those places. Ugh.
That was like shitting all over the game because they were stupid enough to like die 4 times before the first real save point.
Damn. I don't even know how that's possible.
Live right now. You gotta go.
Like the first save point is like there's hardly anything before that.
I gotta talk.
Whatever.
Okay.
yeah, I'm looking forward to playing that game. It seems like a lot of fun. And there was and I finished up Super Hot, and it does have a lot of extra
Who's an
content,
artist?
which is like challenges. There's challenges
What?
and there's endless modes, and the challenges are like
I am so sorry.
what?
Can you just keep talking?
Okay, the challenges are like
What?
the
I didn't.
it's the main game, and you just go through the
I didn't
main
take
levels and
Listen.
okay, sorry. I'm seeing a delay of Mike here, and we're unprofessional here on the podcast. Anyway,
It seems very
Yes, you got it.
so I don't even know. I'm not talking to Mike right now, am I? I hate this. We're coming live from Mike's parents' house, I think. So I guess that's what's going on. He's getting berated by his parents.
Very much.
But anyway, so the main missions, it's the main missions of Super Hot with like restrictions applied or certain elements changed, and it'll be like you can only use a katana, and you go through all the main levels with just the katana. But it gets really repetitive because the katana is not that much fun, and you're going through the same levels that you've. I mean, it's fun when it's like a novelty, but then you're going through the same levels that you've already been through, and so it's not a super. It's not super hot. It's not very interesting because
either like a mistake or like a
part of
huge
that
heal,
game is
so-
like the puzzle of figuring out the sequence that you kill enemies and stuff. And although the challenges restrict you in such a way that you have to kill the enemies in a different way maybe than you did the first time, it doesn't really work. I didn't enjoy it very much. But the endless mode is
Yeah.
really fun. The endless
Sorry
okay,
about
you're
that.
back.
Yeah, that was a kind of big deal.
You made me scramble to
Yeah, I'm
pick
sorry, you
up the
couldn't
pieces
wait.
you left me with.
But yeah, they
Was,
messed
were there
up
a bunch
like
of kids on fire?
yeah, to not give too much detail. They screwed up like my mom's prescription for something,
Uh-oh.
and so she wanted to know if I've been like hoarding her drugs or something. But
Oh my god.
yeah,
So you were caught
so
red-handed, but you
odd,
came
but
up with a
it
good
wasn't
excuse.
something I could like blow off and keep recording. So I'm sorry about that.
All right. Well, what I
Anyway.
was saying was that the challenge mode just goes through the main levels of the game, and so it's kind of repetitive. It applies restrictions where like you can only use one weapon or something, but it's just not very much fun. I don't like the challenge mode very much. But there's the endless mode where it spawns in random enemies in random spots around like a little map, and you just get as far as you can without dying, and that is a lot of fun. Like that's something I can see myself coming back to occasionally. But it still needs a leaderboard system. It still needs something that you can compare to your friends and stuff, like your times and all that, because it feels like what you're doing is just kind of competing against yourself, which I would rather be able to compete against other people and see how I'm doing compared to friends and stuff. But yeah, it's a cool game. I still say people should wait for that to come on sale, but it's still a must buy. Just don't buy it at full price. And that's it. So go back to whatever else you have to say.
Sounds fair. Okay. Well, I also got the new Fire Emblem game to round out the Japanese garbage I'm consuming lately. So, if you haven't played Fire Emblem, which I don't think you have, and I imagine many listeners haven't either, they're strategy games, turn-based strategy games. You have units, and a little like XCOM, except the units are named characters and everything. Anyway, for a while it was very tactical and strict with the strategy it made you use. You had a limited amount of levels and a limited amount of enemies per level, so you can't grind for experience ever. You have to be very careful about, am I going to have this unit kill this guy so he can get the experience, or I better let this strong guy back off because I don't want him soaking up that extra. You have to very carefully consider the growth of your characters and stuff, except in Awakening, which is the last one on the 3DS, which is the most popular one. So that came out and simplified everything. There's grinding now. It's easy street. Even the harder modes are still somewhat casualized. It's not a big problem, but it was a significant departure from how the series has always been. And this time, they've released two different versions of the game, almost like Pokemon, where one is like the easy mode, that's like Awakening, where you can grind, you can, do all that kind of stuff that is in the new one. And then there's the other, which is the one I got called Conquest, and it's like it used to be. Limited experience, a diversity of objectives. In the other ones, the only objective is basically kill all the enemies. Um, this version has like defense, and it's a more rounded strategy experience. So I'm pretty glad that they gave that option to people like me who want to play that. But each version of the game costs $40 each. It's a handheld strategy game,
I
and
thought
to
by
get
versions of
both
the game, I thought you really
routes.
meant just like they were difficulty levels and that was it.
No, no, no. They're like Pokemon versions of the game,
Okay.
except there's substantial differences between them, and each one has a game's worth of content. Like
Oh.
Fire Emblem Awakening was so wildly popular that it is now like with Pokemon as their flagship handheld thing. So when they saw how successful Awakening was, they poured a lot of money into Fates, which is the collective umbrella for the versions they're releasing. And they hired like some famous pulp light novel writer in Japan to like write the story for it, and it's a big deal. A lot of money went into
What is
this.
the story of? I know that this can get
The
complicated
story,
with
okay,
Japanese
don't
games.
don't even worry about it. The story has always been it's just like an anime story, not like in how it is, but in just what it needs to be.
Yeah.
It's always just what it needs to be is serviceable. There's something there, some substance, stuff you can care about, like the basics, a main character who you can get behind, and Awakening was pretty empty, even in that regard. That it didn't even have like a good, satisfying anime story. It was very thin. It was mainly about the gameplay, and yeah, this time there is a substantial story there. It's not like great. I'm not gonna rave about it or anything. It's
I
not.
guess it's asking like what's the story of Pokemon?
Oh, you
I
were
guess
talking
that kind.
Pokemon, not
No, no,
Fire
no, no,
Emblem.
no. I was saying I guess it's kind of like that. Like the
Oh,
question is kind of the same, where it's like it doesn't really matter.
yeah, I
There's not
guess
much of an
it
answer.
doesn't matter until the Team Rocket stand-in sucks, or like I don't know, or all the Pokemon look dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's a good comparison. That there are some elements that need to be there and be done well, and this time they seem to have been doing those core elements quite a bit better story-wise. Um, I'm pretty early on in the game, so I don't have all that much to say about it. But what is worth mentioning is that with all this money put into making these new versions, each version is like a full game's worth of content, separate levels, strategy experiences. But it feels weird that to play all the content in this new Fire Emblem game, you have to spend $100. $40 for each version, and then $20 for a third DLC route that's like the true route.
Yeah.
I mean, $100. That's how much the game costs if you want to see it all.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
it's not a Battlefront where you're paying $40 more for a couple maps or weapons. It's story. Well, they'll get me to pay for it.
I was about to say.
But
It
I've been
seems to
I've been
me like.
playing that series though since I was in like third grade. Of course I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah.
But I guess it seems to be working. I
It's not like they
checked.
need a new fan base,
Well,
and if they
it's
know
they
their
found
fan
one.
base is going to pay
They
for it,
found
then
one.
yeah.
This is the highest selling game in the series by like miles. Like it's blowing records away in the
Yeah.
genre and on handhelds. It's really impressive. It's already like annihilated the sales of the last one, which was already the one that was annihilating the sales of the rest of the series in all history. So I guess this is how it's going to be from now
Yeah.
on.
Sounds like it.
Not that I mind. Like those have always been some of my favorite games, and if they have an awareness of why people like the series in the first place, clearly, because they made a whole version just for that, doing that stuff really well. So they at least have that in mind, that even if they're gonna go for these like really obscure long shot money schemes, let's call it a scheme of releasing it on these different versions. But yeah, at least they know what people want. They know what the new casual fans want, and they know what the older fans want as well.
Well, yeah, video games are weird because, like with movies are this way too. Where if you compare them to books, for example, a lot of books are kind of priced on how much effort you think probably went into making the book. And I think games are kind of in that same zone now a little more than they were 5 years ago, where it's like you still have these $20 releases and $40 releases and $60 releases. But then there's also the concept of like pricing a game to what you think the actual demand for it is. And you're inevitably going to piss people off, but can you really blame people for trying to price their game higher if they know people are going to pay for it anyway? It's weird. And I struggle to like be mad about it, but at the same time, if it happened to a series that I really liked and I was like, well, shit, I didn't think I would have to be paying this much for this game, but I really want this game, then that would be disappointing. So, yeah, weird shit.
Especially closing off like the third true story
Yeah, to a
behind
DLC.
that DLC paywall
That's
thing.
like what I think Mass Effect 3, where they had like the really major story thing about Prometheans or something like that, and it was
Leviathan?
DLC, or it was like pre-order mission or something like that.
Oh,
This is
what are the Proteans? Is that what they were
whatever.
called?
Yeah, I said
Prothean.
what,
Prothean.
Prothean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Prothean Javik, I think was his name.
yeah, and it was like a huge deal, and it was like I forgot if it was DLC or if it was some kind of bonus.
It was
thing.
like an on disc day one
that
DLC
was it, on disc. Yeah,
that you had to unlock with a purchase.
people were not happy about that, which is totally understandable. God, they fucked up with that game. It's
Yeah.
easy to forget how like that took up a whole year of video game outrage on the internet. Just like people were so pissed off about Mass Effect 3.
It's where Mr. Beak Tongue got his start. He's complaining about Mass Effect 3.
There you go. Careers were made and careers were lost. All right. Do you have anything else?
That's about it video game wise. I've been watching the new Better Call Saul episodes. They're good. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I haven't seen them. I'm wondering if I should wait until they're all done before I.
Here's a question. When I legally acquired my episode of Better Call Saul, it had a title card at the start, Netflix, and then it also said a Netflix original on season 2. So, what's up with that?
Hold on,
is it on?
Netflix
Is season
right
2
now.
on Netflix? Is it releasing new episodes on there?
About that. By the way, when does the new House of Cards start?
That's like this week or something.
March
right?
4th.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Midnight.
I don't see even Better Call Saul on the front page or anything, so I don't know.
I don't know what
weird.
it is, but it even said like after it showed the boom Netflix logo, it did the a Netflix original series in like the title card style of Better Call Saul.
That's weird.
And I very much doubt that the legal distributor of online content that I obtained this from would go to those links to falsify a Netflix thing.
Well,
so I don't
remember when
know.
you would legally acquire music and people would put sound bites at the beginning of each song that was like, you're listening to something by something, and it's they would put like the name of their
But that's not what it was. It was the official Netflix thing, and then it said a Netflix original series.
I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. I don't think it's on Netflix though. The first season is.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's a foreign Netflix. I don't know.
That would be interesting. Maybe it is. Maybe it's like someone was watching it in Portugal or something, and it's coming out on Netflix there. Because I know that like each country's Netflix is different. Well, anyway, video game news. Let's talk about it.
Okay, this time there's haps, and boy, I like one of these haps, but I think I might sit on that hap in favor of some other haps, if you know what I'm happing. Let's talk about Slashy Souls.
Slashy Souls. This I saw a lot of people pissed off about this, like unjustifiably really pissed off about this. And I can understand like kind of going at it and kind of looking at it and kind of going, oh well, that's stupid, and kind of being annoyed by it. But apparently, whoever owns the Bandai Namco, I guess, is still Dark Souls, right? They're doing Dark
Um,
Souls 3.
well, they don't own it, but yeah, they
They're
have the rights
publishing
to
it.
distribute it
Um,
outside of Japan.
anyway, whoever's the publisher has
Yeah,
decided
that.
to make a 2D uh, side-scrolling endless runner kind of thing based on the Dark Souls universe, I guess, called Slashy Souls. And you run
Wow,
around, and you
really?
look like the main character, or not the main character. You look like the box character from Dark Souls 2,
The
and you run
Oh my
around.
God, what was
Yeah,
the name of
and
that armor?
I don't know, but
Oh,
you
I
run
wore it for a
you run
while.
to the right, and you hack at zombies and skeletons, and every once in a while a boss shows up like Nero or something, and he requires a lot of hacks to kill, and then you move on. It looks real dumb. It looks really low budget. Like the animations are super simple beyond the point of being stylistic. Uh, but I don't know why people are pissed off about it, especially because like if it were more focused on Dark Souls 1, I would understand because people have such a passionate love for that game. But it looks like most of it is based on Dark Souls 2. Like the background is that Dark Souls 2
Well,
castle and everything.
you
And
know, if there's gonna be significant overlap with shitty mobile cash grab games, I'm just saying Dark Souls 2 seems
Dark Souls 2 already, yeah, Dark
closer to the
Souls 2
mark.
already shit on the Souls series. You know, I mean, as
There's
much as I
nothing in
enjoyed Dark Souls 2,
there's nothing in Dark Souls 2 to bastardize. It's not like, oh my god, look at what
yeah,
they did to Dark Souls 2. Now I'll
yeah,
never look at it the same way again. Not that even
and
if they did it to Dark Souls 1 it would matter, but like there would be that slight bit of cringe factor that if you saw like a mobile game version of Ornstein and Smo dropping
yeah,
down
and
and
there
you had
might
to
be that.
spend
Like, I
50
know there's some
gold.
Dark Souls 1 bosses in there,
Okay. They they
but
they will probably be in there then because they're the most
yeah,
popular.
but like, it's just like a quick cash grab thing, and it just doesn't look like it's. I don't know how this is ruining Dark Souls in any way. It looks like a
It's
kind
not.
of like a fan fiction thing where it's just like, oh, here's a little spin off that's stupid and fun and whatever. I don't know. I just thought I'd mention it because people were in such a fuss about it. I meant to download it and try it. If it's like $1, I would buy that just out of curiosity. And like
Well, it's
someone on
probably not going to
Twitter,
be $1. It's probably going to be free, and then you gotta pay
it
to.
probably is free. You probably pay for weapons and shit.
Yep.
But I wanted to try it out of curiosity, and someone messaged me and said, after I was talking about it on Twitter, someone messaged me and said, well, they're not going to make any money on it because nobody wants to play this. They want to play the real Dark Souls or something like that. And it's like they will probably make their money back. It looks so low budget that they'll probably make their money back on
Yeah.
curiosity alone, where people are like pissed off on it and say, I want to see what this is. Those
I
things
just
don't cost
are a
much.
lot of people mad about this or something? Is
Yes,
that
I saw people saying
okay?
like ridiculously overblown things about it. I just saw a ton of people annoyed about it.
Who cares?
Yeah, it was blowing my mind.
Like, in what world does this negatively impact Dark Souls or you?
Especially in a world where Dark Souls 2 exists. I'm just saying.
And it even says a mobile video game based off of Dark Souls 2
Oh, does it say
in the
Dark Souls
trailer.
2 in the?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
There you go.
whatever.
Yeah. Whatever. Fuck it. Dark Souls
But
3.
it's kind of weird to leave it that way. It really isn't about it being based on Dark Souls 2 that makes it okay. It's just a mobile game. It has nothing to do with the regular game.
Just doesn't
They're
affect
making
anything.
it. They're gonna make some money.
Yeah.
They're still gonna make money from the fans who don't want to buy that and want to buy the real games. Whatever. Who cares?
It's like getting mad at
You
Lego
shouldn't.
Star Wars characters because they're not taking
Exactly.
Star Wars seriously enough.
Yeah, Batman is ruined now because it's a Lego.
Yeah. Dark Souls 3. I don't know if I even want to talk about this because I've been purposely avoiding information.
I've been avoiding it too, but I saw from Twitter that VodiVidya is uploading like a full Let's Play of it.
Yeah, he's got like a shit ton
months before it's out.
Yeah, which sucks. I don't know why they're letting people do that. There's like multiple outlets I think that are getting like a ton of access to it. And him in particular, it seems like he's being allowed to upload videos of like a shit ton of the content of the game. So That's weird to me, like because those games are so much about exploring and finding
Oh yeah.
out everything. It's so weird that their marketing strategy would involve just like, oh,
Even the
here's the
little
game.
stuff, the little stuff,
Yeah.
like there's a, I don't know, this stat works differently now, or those things are fun to find and find out. I'm not like a total purist. It's not like you don't get the experience if you've ever seen a shred of content about it before release. But when a trailer becomes uninterrupted let's play, then maybe these games aren't for you.
It's just weird. Yeah.
But I guess, yeah, I guess just most people, or maybe not most. I don't even know if we can make any statements about most or what's common, but it seems like a lot of people just approach these games differently than we do.
Yeah. Or at least maybe they're just indifferent enough that they're
I
just kind
guess
of
so.
like oh look, videos of Dark Souls 3. I'm looking forward to that game. Like they're not really big fans that are going to be like, well, I don't know if I want to spoil the whole first part of the game for myself. Or they're so some people can't handle the anticipation and they feel like they have to absorb everything about it.
I guess.
Because yeah, I
Well, I
I
was
don't know
that way
though.
with MGS5, but that's different because at least at the time, I I thought that Kojima had some sense and
Yeah,
was
MGS5 was
revealing
being
stuff on purpose.
yeah, MGS5 the way that game was being I remember we talked about one of the trailers that didn't seem like or it definitely wasn't a
Yeah, the
Kojima
Konami
edit
trailer.
and you were like it seems like it's giving away a lot more than he would. Cuz that was the kind of angle that you were looking at it from where it's like you're examining the actual marketing strategy of holding back content and trying to figure out where the blanks
Hmm.
are that you should fill in. And in this case, it's just like, no, here's the game. So I don't know. Poor Vadi. I like Vadi. I like the videos that he made, especially like when he got popular on the Dark Souls 1 stuff. But he started doing this with Dark Souls 2, where they like reached out to him and started giving him
Yeah,
special access and
became
stuff.
basically a promoter.
Yeah, and he was just like so fakely optimistic about Dark Souls 2 and it just wasn't like Dark Souls 2 especially for his particular interest in that series or what it would seem to be which is like the lore and
Yeah,
everything. Dark Souls 2 was the opposite of what he wanted out of a
exactly.
Dark Souls game.
But
And
he has
so
to act like
that was
it's
so
not
weird. Yeah.
because his channel is a Souls game lore channel. So when Dark Souls 2 is out, he's got to talk about Dark Souls 2. He has to. He
Yeah.
has to talk about all the great lore of the tower that becomes a big lava castle when you get to the top.
Yeah.
Um, so this must be a big windfall for him, though, because I can imagine that for these months, or I guess over a year now, between Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3, it's just been Bloodborne. And there's
Yeah.
a lot you can do with Bloodborne.
And
Bloodborne's
he's
great. It's
done
got a great story,
some interesting stuff with it.
and he
Yeah.
has, but none of it is as popular as his Dark Souls stuff
No.
because it's a PS4 exclusive.
Yeah.
And a lot of his audience in particular, which is like a V-going crowd, is more into, playing games.
Yeah.
So it's probably been tough for him making content.
He's yeah.
I can't
He
imagine, like, I don't know. I'm not trying to make assumptions or say Vadi Vidya's life is so hard or anything, but it must be difficult to know that your peeps are subscribed to you for one thing, that this
mhm.
is your livelihood. You need there to be a quality Souls game out that people care about to be able to get views.
Yeah.
And it's damn.
You're 100% relying on someone you have no control over putting out good content that fits
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
do. He's kind of because of the way he got popular and the way that he hadn't diversified his channel. Yeah, he's stuck in a rut when it comes to that. And I mean, usually with YouTubers like that, where they start out as a specialty with like, oh, I only do a certain kind of video. Usually they find a way to kind of get out of that, and
Yeah.
people remain fans because they like the YouTuber as a person and what they do, regardless of what kind of thing it is. But they're gonna get inevitably they get a ton of flack from people who are saying, well, I like the other kind of thing, like Red Letter Media. Like they got popular on their Star Wars reviews, the Plinkett Star Wars reviews, and now they're half in the bag and stuff like that. And a lot of people, I still see, if you go
I
to the comments of
love
any half in the bag
half in
video,
the bag.
release your next Plinkett video. And like, I understand that because I love those Plinkett videos, but you know, they have to make a living.
Well, they have to make a living, and they found a way to do it while keeping people happy. I love
Half in the
half in the
bag's
bag.
great. I love it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Vadi, it seems like he's the kind of, I don't know, they call themselves uploaders, which kills me inside.
Who calls themselves uploaders?
Dark
YouTubers?
Souls uploaders.
Specifically the Dark Souls
They
community?
call themselves uploaders, which it like, I don't know if it's still in vogue, but at least it's so soulless. It's like I just have this and I'm uploading it, and
Oh,
there's no
man.
creation involved in the process.
I mean, I know a stigma comes with like all these internet things. Like I'm a YouTuber, I'm a Tumblr, I'm a Redditor, or whatever. But uploader.
You never willingly call yourself an uploader.
Yeah, that's
like
rough.
a spam channel uploads.
There's a really good YouTube video. I don't know. I shouldn't overhype it. It's like a really simple thing, but it was hilarious to me. And I think it's just called the Dark Souls community.
Oh God.
And you should search the Dark Souls community after the podcast. Don't search it during the podcast. Please keep paying attention to us. But it is it is a compilation of Dark Souls YouTubers, and it's pretty good. They're a special community. Let me tell you. I used to make fun of like Dark Souls fans before I played the game, but at least now I understand it. Like I understand the passion, but like still.
I can't stand the PvP videos.
I mean, I get it. It's become a thing. Whatever.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's something about that is so unappealing on just on a social level. Like,
but there's so much other bullshit on YouTube,
that's true.
Especially around video games, that like that's not anywhere near the worst of it.
Yeah. But Dark Souls is Dark Souls community's fun because they take a certain pride in them playing a game that doesn't hold your hand.
The best game ever.
I'm not going to overstate it, but it's not like they're literally saying, "Oh, fuck casuals, I'm a hardcore gamer god." But there definitely is that feeling like, "Oh well, I'm enjoying a fine wine here."
Yeah,
not everybody can get on my level.
One of the best ways to build camaraderie is a shared challenge.
A shared elitism.
Well, I was putting a positive light on it, but getting through something difficult together is something that brings people together, and Dark Souls, it's not the hardest game in the world. It's not anyone can get through Dark Souls if they're willing to dedicate themselves to it, if they have the determination. But it's still a challenge, and it's still something that like feels like an adventure. And when you're finally through, you feel like you've entered the club, And so I get it, I understand why it happened, and I feel it to a certain extent. Even though I played the game Dark Souls 1 years after it came out, you still like that shared experience. For some reason, the way that Dark Souls does that feels that feeling is more pronounced than with most other games. It's unique. It's part of what I like about the game so much, is like, especially playing those games when they first come out and discovering things with everyone else, is like you don't get that with a lot of other games, at least not with that kind of it's just, it doesn't reach that same level of that feeling, so it's cool. But yeah, it also means the fan base is kind of shitty.
Yep. Dark Souls 3, I am just unplugging from. I don't really have expectations about it.
Me either. I really don't know what to expect. I know that it's going to be more like Dark Souls 1 probably than 2, maybe. But
definitely more like Bloodborne.
Sure. But not, definitely different from Bloodborne, and I've heard good things, but I haven't heard very much at all. So I don't know.
We'll see.
I'm pumped.
Okay. Well, I'm pumped for something. Also,
The
And
time
this
to
is
talk
something I've
about it.
been pumped since they revealed it in a Japanese Nintendo Direct over a year
Mm-hmm.
ago. I think it's over a year ago. But they did a Nintendo Direct a while ago where they showed a bunch of like Super Smash Brothers stuff, and they did an English and a Japanese one, and they were identical, except at the end of the Japanese one, they showed a trailer for a new Rhythm Heaven game for the 3DS. And no word for a year. And I was starting to give up hope. I really thought that Rhythm Heaven wasn't coming to the US on 3DS. And thank God I was wrong. Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix coming to 3DS, the United States, these United States, this great country that Trump will lead to a rhythmic
Thank
future.
you, Trump. Thank you, Trump and Jim
Thanks, Trump.
Sterling. Jim Sterling for VP.
So what are the details? You heard about this before me.
I don't know the details, and so I don't want to get your hopes up in case it's not in case it doesn't include all the new stuff that was announced for the Japanese audience. But I know that it's a compilation of the best of Rhythm Heaven.
And that
But
is fine
I
with me.
I imagine it also includes new stuff, but I don't know.
Because a lot of it would just be able to take Rhythm Heaven Fever games on the go.
Yeah.
Like, because Rhythm Heaven Fever is the best in the series, I
Yeah.
think. If my background with this series is relatively recent, but I've like plowed through it.
You've definitely plowed through it. I saw your video of you completed like gold on literally everything in that game, which is
Yeah, not gold, perfect.
whatever.
Perfect
Yeah.
on everything in every one of the games.
Oof.
The GBA Rhythm Tengoku, the Nintendo DS Rhythm Heaven, and the Wii Rhythm Heaven Fever. And so yeah, I'm really into Rhythm Heaven. I didn't mention this about Mother 3. This will be real quick. There's a rhythm-based combat system.
Oh.
Mother 2 Earthbound was a kind of boring combat system. Really, you're just picking stuff from a menu like an RPG, and it
Yeah.
works. And the battles are fun, but it's still pretty basic. Mother 3, if you're going to do a basic attack, like if you're not using one of your abilities, then there's a rhythm to it that if you keep mashing the attack button, you'll rack up more damage. It's completely optional. It's balanced just to the point where it is optional. You can definitely finish the game. It won't be a significant problem for you if you don't do that, but it's going to be a lot easier if you nail the rhythm part of the battles. Each enemy has a heartbeat that if you put them to sleep, you can listen to their heartbeat and figure out at which part of the song their heart is
Huh.
gonna beat, and then you time your attacks to that. It's really interesting,
That is
and
cool. That's
it's done a
awesome.
lot to just energize the flow of the game. Enemies aren't just like time sinks in between stuff you want to do.
Yeah.
They're actually fun now. Anyway, that's
Yeah, because that's my main criticism of like old school RPGs, especially, is that the actual fighting very quickly becomes an annoyance rather than anything interesting, and
mm,
especially in games like Pokemon and stuff, where like you've got these random encounters, and if you have a goal in mind, then it's just like, oh shit, there's another fight, and then they're not actually very interesting because you're doing the same sequence of events over and over. So having any kind of rhythm or skill based kind of
yeah.
thing, even if it's just a bonus damage or whatever,
It's part of what
that's
makes Undertale's system
yeah.
fun is that you're not just picking stuff from a menu, you're doing active things in combat.
I mean,
The
Undertale
just
had the advantage
feedback is
of
important.
and Undertale also had the advantage of even the random encounters tended to be completely new
Yeah,
enemies with basically it was just a completely new experience every time. So that's what I hated about trying to get through the genocide run, was getting through all those over and over and just doing the same thing. I get that was the point, but anyway, we've been over that.
yes.
No need to dive back into that rabbit hole.
One last thing. I will say that you being reluctant to deal with old RPG bullshit
Mhm.
will be happy to know that Mother 3 is one of the most streamlined RPGs I've ever played.
Oh,
That it's so fast. There's a run feature now. Um, it's a really fast moving, satisfying game that if the slow relics of RPG times past could get you down on something like Earthbound. Mother 3 has eliminated literally all of it. It's
Well,
it's a
that could be worth
remarkably polished game.
checking out then. So I would like to see that for sure.
Okay,
Glad to hear it.
I promise that's it.
All
Rhythm
right.
Heaven though, I don't know when it's
Yeah,
coming out, but I cannot wait.
that's exciting. I
You've
love
played
Rhythm Heaven.
some of Fever, right?
I've played most of Rhythm Tengoku and some of Fever. I'd say maybe half of Fever.
Hmm.
Um, I like those games a lot. I just don't own any of the consoles that play them.
I didn't at first
I'm probably gonna
either.
get a 3DS.
I
I'm gonna get like a
emulated
used 3DS in some games or something.
I emulated Rhythm Heaven Fever at first,
Yeah.
and I loved it so much that I just had to go and get an actual copy of it. And I went through the procedure of like turning the save file on my computer into an actual save that could be
Oh
read on a
wow.
Wii, and just picked up exactly where I left off. And perfected the fuck, I can't talk. Perfected the game on an actual console, which was kind of satisfying to actually do it for real on the original thing. Anyway,
Anyway, more
anyway,
news.
anyway, cast
um,
Rock Band. What's up?
Rock Band. So Rock Band 4 has been out for I want to say a few weeks, maybe longer than that. I don't really know because there's not been very much buzz around it because it hasn't done super well. There's some issues with it. There's some issues
Rock
with the
Band
game
like
now.
on consoles?
Yeah.
It's been months.
I guess it's been months. I don't know. There's been some issues with it, and people are not too happy with it. I don't know all the details. I know that there's stuff like it won't let you cross save and between consoles and stuff if you. Anyway, like if you buy music and then you buy the game for another console, which this doesn't apply to a lot of people, but still, like you'd have to buy the music all over again. And the reason I bring that up is because they've announced it for the PC, or they haven't announced it for the PC. They've announced the Kickstarter for the PC version.
The Fig.
The Fig.
They figged it.
They've partnered up with our favorite Tim
Figged
whatever,
it out.
and they want $1.5 million to port the game to the PC, which seems steep.
Quite.
And
especially
also
considering
ridiculous.
this was supposed to be the generation where they all use x86 architectures. It's going to be easy to make ports.
Exactly. And people are really pissed because it's like, well, you haven't even really fixed all the issues on the consoles yet, and now you're porting it to the PC, so that's not too great. But then they say, oh, well, we've got a third-party developer porting it to the PC if the Kickstarter gets through. Whatever, it's just a real mess and kind of terrible PR, and also comes across as pretty desperate. Like, oh, our game hasn't sold very well. Please donate so that we can put it on PC. It's just, I feel kind of bad for him because I feel like I feel kind of bad for him, but not too bad. I don't know if the genre's dead forever, like that whole music band genre, or if when they tried to revitalize it, if they just didn't make a good enough game to really catch people. Because I remember my coworkers talking about Rock Band coming out again. They said, like, coworkers that don't play any games, that would never play any games, like older coworkers, saying, oh yeah, I heard Rock Band 4, or there's going to be a new Rock Band game coming out. And it's like a big deal because that was such a huge mainstream thing 10 years ago, and then it just fell flat on its face. Like, I don't know anyone who got Rock Band.
Yeah, the only one I know of who has Rock Band 4, is Rocco from Mega 64.
Yeah.
No one else I know has touched the new Rock Band.
Yeah.
I've played the was that? I think it might have been Guitar Hero Live. Whatever. It all is like the same to me now.
Yeah, Guitar Hero with the live action video behind it, which I think was received better than Rock Band, but still didn't do too well.
This is a little bit of like a, I don't know what you'd call it, a tangent about crowdfunding, but something about seeing this one. I've never been into crowdfunding. I think the only thing I've ever kickstarted is Ukulele.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been super down on it or into it, but now maybe it's just a time thing of seeing so many Kickstarters, but it's just so transparent what it is, and it's not like a good
Well, it's
idea
when
in general for consumers. Like
yeah,
it's a very low risk way for companies to produce stuff, and all the risk is assumed by enthusiastic fans
yep.
who just have, they put in a couple bucks and a little piece of their heart, and that's what's at stake with kickstarted projects. It's not like a line on a balance sheet.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked at length about my thoughts on it, but bottom line, I agree with you 100% that it's just an offloading of risk, and and that you have to be kind of stupid to kickstart anything that you're not either. You have to either be one or both of these things. You have to either be 100% confident in the developer that they'll make something good that you'll enjoy, and they'll make it in a reasonable amount of time, under the money with the amount of money that you give them, or you have to be so in love with the person making it, or
That you just want to help. Yeah.
so indebted to them that you feel like you want to give them money regardless, even if there was no game. That's why
Right.
the only
Like,
thing that I've kickstarted is that Outer Wilds, the first one, the first game that was on
there you go.
Fig. I gave it $10 because I was like, I played that. That was a free student project that you could download, and I played it, and it blew my fucking mind. You should download and play Outer Wilds. I don't know if it's been updated yet or whatever, but I haven't touched it since I first played it. But I that game was awesome. I loved it. It was so cool. It was so different, so interesting, and I didn't pay anything for it, so I was totally fine giving them $10. Even if that game never comes out in a full capacity, whatever. I paid $10 for the original game in my own mind. So yeah,
Like,
and
yeah,
that's a case
that's
of
totally justifiable.
yeah, and that's a case of like a small developer who likely doesn't have any money to spend, and it would be hard to find a publisher for such a weird game that it's hard to see what the appeal would be to a wide audience.
Yep, that's exactly what Kickstarter and Fig are for.
Exactly,
It's
and
not
then
for this huge company
yeah,
in Rock Band 4. We need money to make a port to a different platform. Like,
yeah,
that's
that's scummy. It's the same thing with the. It's even worse than when the E3 announcement that they were going to make the third
Shenmue.
which Shinmu game, yeah. Which that was like, okay, they have the money that they'd be able to publish this in an official capacity, but at least with that game, it's like, well, we don't actually know how many people would buy this. It's kind of a weird thing that we're not really sure about. In this case, it's just like, hey, we didn't make enough money on Rock Band 4, so maybe we can make some money on the PC, but
And the sad
nobody will
thing
pay
is,
us. So please give us money.
I might actually want to play Rock Band on PC,
Yeah, maybe.
but I'm never going to kickstart it.
No. And I hope it
Fuck that.
fails. I'm not sure what it's at right now, but it's got a month to get to 1.5 million. And
Isn't
I
it
don't think
sad
that
that you say that you want Rock Band on PC to fail? Why are we in this
it's kind of
position?
sad because it needs to fail for the sake of video game consumers in the future, so that it doesn't set a precedent of this shit working and other companies doing it in the future. That's why I want it to fail, and it is kind of sad, but like,
It's
yeah,
this is something where if you did a cost benefit analysis on whether the company itself should invest in a PC port, you could probably say, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. I think just like with a regular analysis of the market, you could figure out that there is interest. I don't think it's
maybe.
something like a forgotten story like Shenmue, where are their hearts still in? You've got data from the sales on PS4 and Xbox. You've probably got some way to feel out interest on PC.
Well,
I mean, this
so
is
it didn't.
just a way to offload risk. They don't
Yeah,
need to do this.
but I think it's even more cynical than that, because you say that they probably could make money on it on the PC, but I'm not sure they could, because I don't think they sold very well on the consoles. And the PC, most PC players are these people who, like us, who use a mouse and keyboard, and we sit at our desk and play. We're not inviting our friends over to play instruments with us and do it on the monitor. Now, plenty of people have their PC hooked up to the TV and are in a situation where they might want to do that, but it's not a big
Well,
demographic. I can't
I'd
imagine.
see it working online really well. Like
Yeah.
that would make a lot of sense on PC,
I mean,
especially when you
I'd
don't
be
need a
interested.
guitar controller.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
But it's not the first in what's now been a pretty promising line of like console exclusive games getting ported to PC years later and doing very well.
Yeah.
The most recent example that did well I can think of is Dragon's Dogma,
Sure.
which
Very
yeah I
well,
had no
as
interest
far
in
as
it
I
and
can
I played
tell.
it. Some of it not super into it, but it was cool. I was
Yeah.
glad that it came to PC and I got to play it. And
Yeah.
I would normally buy Rock Band 4 on PC. I don't know if I will.
It's yeah. It's weird because of the genre that it's in and how you think of that game as more of a couch, not even
I
couch, but
guess
like
so.
a living room game. But whatever. I guess it doesn't matter if people want to give their money to it and get it on the PC, go for it. But anyway, the reason that I brought up at the very beginning, 15 minutes ago, that it doesn't have cross save compatibility is because if you do have it on the console and you want to get it on the PC, you can't port your music list over. And that game
Which is
relies a lot
awful.
on buying extra music packs and stuff, and you can't do that, which is inconceivable to me. Like that they don't have some support for that functionality is crazy. And that they're already announcing that they don't have support for that functionality before I assume they've even begun development on the PC
What are
port.
they gonna do? Like that seems like a legitimate technical problem that you could throw some money at.
Yeah, yeah.
Come
That
on.
like okay, we need to solve this problem. We need probably still not a 1.5 million dollars to solve that problem, but like yeah, that's something that they should be prioritizing in my mind because there probably are a lot of people who might buy it for the PC after having it on the console for whatever reason. But they're definitely not going to do that if they can't port their music over and they have to rebuy all the music they want. That's ridiculous. So, yeah.
But at least we have Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix.
Yes, the better rhythm game, the best rhythm game.
I'm really excited. I'm so excited, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I want to just like I want to spend the least amount of money possible and get a 3DS and some of the games that I've missed out on in the past
Yeah, definitely.
decade.
I'm still using. I got a 3DS, just a regular Nintendo 3DS, close to when it came out, and I'm still using the same one. It works perfectly.
Yeah.
No problems at all. You can probably get one of those super cheap.
Yeah, definitely. So, looking forward to that. All right.
Looks like it's coming out later this year,
Okay.
2016. That's nice. I'm glad it's not a 2017 release.
Yeah. All right.
One more hap.
One more hap. This is a dud of a hap.
Yeah, so on the doc, I wrote Far Cry Primal parentheses sarcastic shrug emoticon.
Yeah.
Because Far Cry Primal came out. Did you know that?
Oof.
I didn't know that. I had to have someone else tell me that.
I do know that. I've forgotten completely about it, and then I saw a video of someone playing it saying Far Cry Primal's out, and I looked at the video for maybe 20 minutes and said, "Oh, I should talk about that on the podcast," and then forgot about it completely.
It's Far Cry. It's Far Cry 3-4 with tribes.
Yeah, it's Far Cry with less stuff in it.
Great. That's what I've always wanted.
It looks so boring to me. Like there's some parts that I really like that look like fun, like throwing a spear through someone's head, but damn, that game looks like it gets old fast. I think it's just a terrible idea and we were saying this when they first announced it, like how much can they do with this concept? And the answer is not a lot.
Yep.
You need some kind of like magic element or something.
You know what you need? You need one more year. You need to spend one more year making the damn game.
Or you need to sell this for like $30, and it's an extension onto Far Cry 4.
I think it's basically proven at this point now that it is not possible to make like unique quality open world games on an annual release cycle. It can't be done. No one has ever done it successfully. The people are already burning out of Assassin's Creed. Ubisoft of all people has decided to make it not annual anymore.
It took Call of Duty like more than a decade though to start losing people, and even then it's still selling incredibly well. It's still one of the biggest gaming franchises.
Yeah, but
So
Call of
it
Duty
can
had the
work.
wherewithal to start a 3 studio rotation,
Yeah.
giving each game some time to cook,
And they
and you get,
probably still do that with Far Cry and Assassin's Creed, that kind of
I
thing.
guess, but
But the difference is that Call of Duty, at least, it
each
feels
one
like
of
they
the
keep them
Call of
more
Duty
separate.
games, they still have a little bit of personality, you could say. Like
Yeah,
you
they
can,
keep them.
the
They
Treyarch
keep.
games feel different from the other ones.
I mean, at this point, I think they're on 3 different engines.
Yeah.
So they're just completely working separately from each other, and they don't rely on each other to add features or continue the story or anything. They just tell completely different stories. From what I can tell, I don't still play Call of Duty, but yeah, I mean, that's how they stay relatively fresh. But people are still getting burnt out on it. And yeah, Assassin's Creed especially. Assassin's Creed's one of the worst offenders because it's just kind of the same thing over and over, and they're not really updating anything about the game. Like they kind of treat it like a sports franchise. Like here's FIFA 16, we added cheerleaders to a FIFA game, but we added this tiny little feature, and then the ball physics are different. Trust us, it's different. I know you can't tell, but it's different. We've tweaked it, and they sell it for $60 because people want an updated roster and they want the newest game. And Assassin's Creed isn't that way. Assassin's Creed, you have to make these kinds of games, especially single player ones, you have to make them way different. Call of Duty also has something we didn't mention, is that Call of Duty also has the advantage of being multiplayer. So everyone else is getting the new one, you have to get the new one too. And yeah, that's not something that these games have going for them, and so obviously that doesn't work unless you make them wildly different. And I guess this one's wildly different, but it's not it's not different in a way that adds anything to the game. It really subtracts things from the game. So, yeah, shame on them. But it's not going to sell well. I can tell you that much. I haven't seen any buzz about it.
It's I didn't even know it was coming out.
Yeah,
And I generally stay abreast of these things. I'm abreast. Are you abreast?
I'm abreast. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't abreast of this because this was not on my breast.
Yeah. It's a dud.
A big turd.
I loved Far Cry 3. Far Cry 3 was great.
Yeah, because it was something new.
Yeah. Far Cry 1 and 2 and 3 are way different, and they came out years apart from each other.
Far Cry 2 was kind of cool, even though it wasn't fun.
Yeah, I will defend Far Cry 2, but yeah, I agree.
The fire was cool. The malaria was annoying.
It could have been
interesting.
amazing if they had made some very minor changes to some of the basic gameplay elements, but they didn't. But still, Far Cry 2 could have been great. There was something else. I wanted to mention.
It looked like
oh God, what was
your
it?
Your head exploded.
What was it?
What was it? Here, why don't we play 20 questions?
I remember. It was. Did you hear about the Dota drama?
No.
There's been some Dota drama.
Is it match fixing?
No.
Okay.
It's far less significant than that. So they were having a tournament. I want to say over the weekend, or maybe it was throughout the week. On well, I don't know if I can find it, but they were having a tournament in, I want to say it was like Malaysia or Singapore or something like that, and they had a commentator who apparently, I forgot the guy's name. I'm the worst podcaster ever. Forgot the guy's name, but he apparently, I'm gonna look it up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that I don't
sound like Dota a drama.
Idiot. Yeah.
By now, we've all become accustomed. This is esports journalism right here. We've all become accustomed the Dota 2 drama. Blah blah. Shanghai Major. What's the deal? It's an offline thing?
Yeah, I mean it's just a tournament, and the problem was that the commentary and the studio work, just like the quality of the stream in general, was apparently awful, like really bad. and apparently the commentator was saying some inappropriate things. I don't know exactly what he said, like nothing super dramatic, but just kind of being in general a goof. And they fired him. Valve fired him and the entire studio that was doing the stream, I think in the middle of the tournament. Like there was still a day or two left of the tournament. And they just upright fired him.
I saw that the venue shut down, and the rest of the games are going to be finished online.
Okay, so there you go.
They must have really. Wow.
The commentator's 2GD. That's one of his nicknames, and his name's James something other. Anyway, the thing that makes it big news is that Gabe Newell himself went on to Reddit and said, yeah, James was an ass. We gave him a second chance, but we're not going to be working with him any longer. And he said these words. He said, and while we're on the topic of firing people, we also let go the entire staff doing the stream. So yeah, Valve doesn't take shit. They they were on it.
There's somebody asked in the thread, hey Gabe, as long as you're firing people, can you also fire your entire support staff as well?
Damn. Shit.
Dota drama.
But anyway, I thought it was kind of interesting because one of the most, I didn't see a lot of discussion about this, but Gabe did a Q&A a few years ago, maybe more than a few years ago. It might have been pretty old. And it was some kind of business conference that he was doing a QA for, and students and stuff were asking him questions about how to run the business and everything. And obviously he's a very good businessman, as we know. And someone asked like a really simple question. I think it was something like, if you could give one piece of advice for someone looking to start their own business and run their own business and grow it, what would it be?
Yep.
And his answer was, be diligent about firing people. That was his most important piece of advice. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And here's your evidence of that mindset. They aren't satisfied with them and they fired them.
That's the way to do it.
I guess that's the way to do it. But yeah, Dota. I haven't heard anything about Dota for like the past year until this.
I don't mind that.
I don't either.
Okay.
I wonder if MOBAs are losing popularity. Do you know?
I hope so. It kind of seems like it. I'm not hearing people getting into it now who weren't.
But then Gearbox
before.
is making that first-person shooter MOBA. Or
everybody's making a MOBA now because everybody started making World of Warcraft back in 2000.
And none of them worked.
Yeah, we might be in that stage. Who knows?
Maybe.
I think they'll be around. I just don't think there's going to be much change.
Yeah, Dota and League of Legends will probably stick around and nobody else will be able to touch them because that's how it works.
Yep.
Anyway.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Half hour late this week. Sorry about that. It's my fault. Also, sorry you had to become embroiled in a tale of pharmaceutical drama. That's also my fault. But at least the reason the podcast sucks is all because of Skippy being dumb and unpleasant as a person.
Yeah.
Good night.